Hey there guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films, and today I'm here to bring you a review of Star Trek Beyond. So, let's get straight into it with the story. So, Star Trek Beyond takes place about three to 3.5 years after the events of Star Trek Into Darkness. Basically, so at the end of Star Trek Into Darkness, the Enterprise was being sent on the 5-year mission to explore strange new worlds and seek out new life and new civilization, all that good stuff. And so now we're about 3 years into the 5-year mission, and right away I was kind of thinking, oh well, I kind of wanted to see all of the 5-year mission, but I actually thought that 3 years into the 5-year mission is about where the original series was canceled. So that's just a little thing I thought of. But anyway, so basically Kirk is starting to, I guess, get bored with space, and he's kind of losing himself out in space, and he's thinking of accepting a promotion to Vice Admiral and just taking a desk job. So, but on a mission near a starbase called Yorktown. It's a really cool looking starbase. But the Enterprise has to go to a nearby nebula to find these people that destroyed the ship and killed the crew of this this alien that they come across in an escape pod. So they go through the nebula, and they basically, there's this whole swarm of all these ships that come in and they attack the Enterprise. And as you probably can guess from the trailer, I'm sure you can already guess this from the trailer, but this might be a spoiler. But the Enterprise crashes, and it crashes pretty amazingly, actually. So it's very interesting how the ship is destroyed. But I won't go too much into that if you haven't seen the movie or the trailers or anything. So the crew of the Enterprise is stuck on this ship, and not on the ship, but on this planet, and they're being held prisoner by the leader of the people that destroyed the Enterprise. Is this character named Krall, played by Idris Elba. So basically, it's the Enterprise crew has to get off the planet and get back to Starfleet, while also Krall wants to destroy Starfleet, destroy the Federation. It's this big revenge plot, which some people are getting tired of revenge plots in Star Trek, but it's fine. So, that's the story. Let's move on to the characters. This might take a few minutes, because it's Star Trek, and Star Trek has an ensemble cast. So let's just get right to that. Kirk, still pretty good. He's played by Chris Pine once again. Kirk is pretty good still. Spock, played by Zachary Quinto, is really good. Honestly, they're all really good. Pretty much all the characters have almost equal amount of screen time. Obviously, more screen time is given to Kirk, a bit more is given to Spock and McCoy, but all the characters have a couple good moments in there. The only member of the crew that's really, I guess, underused is Chekhov, played by the late Anton Yelchin. But he's still pretty good in this movie. I just wish he would have had a bit more, so there's that. But the one thing I was happy about getting in this movie is that I kind of complained about in Star Trek Into Darkness was we got more Bones. And that is amazing. So, because in the last, I almost said in the last episode, but in the last movie, it focused a bit more on Kirk, Spock, and Uhura, which is totally fine. I'm totally for that. You know, if you can give more character to Uhura, that's completely fine. But I still wanted more Bones. Bones is pretty much my favorite character. So I wanted more, and I got more. And we pretty much get all of them, all of the main crew. They get a lot of good screen time and good moments. So, and a lot of that could be attributed to Simon Pegg, who wrote the script. There's a T in script, I gotta remember that. So, there are a couple new characters brought into this movie. The first one is an alien woman they find on the planet named Jayla. I don't remember the actress's name. Here it is. So, she does a fantastic job as sort of this scavenger on the planet that helps the crew of the Enterprise get off and defeat Krall. And then, like I said, there's Krall, like I said, played by Idris Elba, and I think he's pretty solid. He's not... Well, I don't know. He's a pretty decent villain, you know? Because he's a new villain, so he's kind of got a lot riding on that, whereas in the previous two movies, Eric Bana, who played Nero, I guess kind of had that boost of being from the alternate timeline, so there was already a lot of depth established with him. And then in Into Darkness, spoiler alert for Into Darkness if you've never seen it, but if you've never seen it, you're probably not watching this review or this movie. So yeah, spoiler alert for that, but Benedict Cumberbatch playing Khan, there's already a lot established for Khan that we've seen in other movies and in the original series. Whereas Krall is a completely brand new villain. He's not, he's not from other episodes or other movies. He's not from the alternate timeline, and he has no connections pretty much to that, except you find out a bit of his backstory, and you can kind of get that, but that's later in the movie. So there's that. So that's characters. Let's move on to cinematography and special effects. Cinematography is really good this time. And not that the other two weren't great, but the director, Justin Lin, he clearly knows how to shoot a movie and shoot action really well. I haven't seen the Fast and the Furious movies, but he does a good job. All the action is pretty clear. Everything is nice and clear. In fact, when they're on the planet, a lot of it takes place during the day. The only points where I'm like, okay, the cinematography could have been a little bit better is when it's at night. And that's really just like one scene that takes place at night. So, yeah. So, cinematography is really good. Special effects are pretty good too. Actually, yeah, the special effects are just pretty good. I can't really think of any point where I was like, okay, that's completely fake. Except, right now that I just remembered it, in the opening, there's just this alien race, and they kind of look a little too fake. To me, it kind of seems like this was, like, the last thing they were making with the special effects. Like, they had focused on the rest of the movie, and it's like, okay, we have to go get that, we have to go do that opening. They did it. It looks okay enough, because the alien species that they meet, it doesn't really relate to the rest of the movie, so they don't really come back. So, yeah. So that's special effects. We are going to move on to music and sound. Music, composed once again by Michael Giacchino. Again, really, really good. I still love that Star Trek theme in the end. How they took the theme from the original series and they made it, they updated it and put some, they just updated it for the modern times, and it still sounds amazing and it still works with Star Trek. So music and sound, really good. The only thing I can really say is there's the occasional point where they're like firing their phasers, and it's just one or two times I thought I heard a blaster from Star Wars, and I thought the phasers don't sound like that. And it's probably like the biggest nitpick of this movie, but I really just, every once in a while, I just like heard, just like one shot sounded like a blaster from Star Wars, and I was like, it doesn't work with Star Trek. So, jump scare count, or not really jump scare count even, just jump scare warning. No jump scares. That's great, that's amazing. So I don't write on my hand anymore, by the way. I've decided I don't need to count them, I just need to tell you if there were jump scares. And as far as I know, there weren't any jump scares. And I say as far as I know because I'm remembering this from yesterday. So I always record these the day after. So yeah. So movie length. Like the past two movie reviews I've done, I didn't look up how long this movie was. Here it is. So yeah, it really didn't feel long. It actually felt pretty nice and fast-paced. So yeah, I thought that was really good. It was nice, fast-paced, and honestly, it felt like a really big two-parter from like the shows. Like this would be like if the original series was like a show now in 2016, this would be like a big two-part, maybe even three-part episode, you know, where they throw a lot into it, and that's not a bad thing because that feels like Star Trek. And I'm actually going to talk about, well, actually we can just get into that now with spoiler talk. So yeah, it's time for some Star Trek Beyond spoilers. It's a big spoiler alert, like right here, spoiler alert. So yeah, if you have not seen Star Trek Beyond, go see Star Trek Beyond, and then come back, and we'll talk some spoilers. Alright, I'll give you guys a second. Okay, so, spoiler alert's gone. Let's talk spoilers. Krall. Krall is actually a human who used to be a soldier for the United Earth back during the Xindi Wars and the Romulan Wars, which were featured in Star Trek Enterprise, and he was, his name was like Captain Balthazar Edison of NX-326, I believe, 324 maybe. I don't know, I suppose it's not important, but I'll put it right here. So, but he was the captain of the USS Franklin, and so basically after the war, the pretty much grueling wars with the Xindi and the Romulans, the Romulan War of course not shown in Star Trek Enterprise because it was cancelled, but the Xindi War was season 3 of Enterprise if you want to go watch that to kind of understand what he's talking about. Basically, after a very grueling war, he really, you know, grew to hate the Xindi and the Romulans. And then, when the Federation was created, basically, he didn't like how the Federation was trying to, you know, make peace with the Xindi and the Romulans. He really hated them, and so he hated the Federation for trying to make peace with them. He thought they should be obliterated, and so now he also hates the Federation, but his ship crashes onto this planet, and then it has this effect on him, I guess, which turns him into this alien, basically. So that's the thing. And when the Enterprise crew crashes and they find Jayla, basically she takes them to her house, which is actually the USS Franklin, an NX-class starship. And so basically, the Enterprise crew is trying to get the USS Franklin up and working so that they can go and defeat Krall before he destroys Yorktown base. So it's really interesting. I didn't think that they were going to do that, because, see, I saw the trailer, and I actually did a reaction to the second trailer, which you can find on the channel. You know, shameless plug. But, yeah, it was one of the trailers or one of the commercials where they showed the USS Franklin, but they didn't say that it was the USS Franklin. They just showed a ship in space, and I looked at it and I thought, is that an NX-class starship? And sure enough, it is. You know, the inside does not, it doesn't look like the NX-01 from Enterprise, but it still looks like it's from that time. So that's the thing, is like, it was really interesting seeing an NX-class starship in these new movies, because this is like the only time when something from the other shows other than Spock, basically, is now in these movies, and it shows like that these movies really are in continuity with the others. At least that's what I think of that. So I thought that was really cool. I don't know how many people that hate Enterprise hate that they used an NX-class starship, but I thought it was a good use of the past, because they didn't make anything up. They didn't be like, or they weren't like, oh, this other starship that was there, these other wars. They stuck with the continuity of Star Trek, and I like that. So that's my thoughts on them finding the USS Franklin. And so I just kind of mentioned Spock, but basically, of course, because Leonard Nimoy died, they couldn't have Ambassador Spock in the third movie. So it was very clever what they did. They said that Ambassador Spock died, and that affects new Spock, Zachary Quinto Spock. And so that's basically Spock is going through this thing where now that Spock has died, this is weird to say, this might get confusing, but because Spock died, Spock is thinking he needs to go replace Spock on New Vulcan. So there's that, and basically at the end, he realizes he still needs to be with the Enterprise, and Kirk also realizes that he needs to stay in space. So that's the big thing at the end of the movie. But the last thing I really want to talk about here is that at Yorktown, basically, they have this prototype, or this new ship being built. They kind of tease that in the beginning, is that they have this ship that's currently under construction, and it's going to be like even more advanced than the Enterprise. And so it turns out at the end, because you know the Enterprise crashed, is that this new ship, which is still a Constitution-class starship, it's basically built and it's designated the Enterprise A. So I thought that was really interesting, because in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, that's like 15 years after the events of the original series, but in this new timeline, basically right at the end of the original series, pretty much, around that time when it would have ended, they're getting this new Enterprise. So that was, because it was kind of sad to see the Enterprise go, but it's nice to know that they now have the Enterprise A. So, yeah, that's basically all for spoilers. So, if you just, because I just realized, I guess people could have skipped over the spoilers just to go straight here to my final verdict. I'll probably have had an annotation saying, hey, skip the spoiler section and stuff. So, final verdict for Star Trek Beyond. Well, let's go ahead and rank the other two as well. If we're going to rank all three of them. Probably, probably what I would put is first Star Trek 2009, I would put at A. Just an A. Not an A minus, not an A plus, A. Because I thought it was really good, but it could have been better. So, Star Trek Into Darkness, I'm going to put at an A minus, because I thought it was really, really good. It could have been better a little bit, like, towards the end, and some things could have been, like, more explained, like, explained some more things about the time that Khan was with Admiral Marcus. So yeah, A minus, but that's still pretty high because that's an A. So probably for Star Trek Beyond, what I'm going to put it at is, I'll put it at an A. So there you go, final verdict, A. Pretty much I put it on par with the original, with the 2009 Star Trek movie, and then just below that, like almost like barely below that, like pretty much right there would be Into Darkness because of a few things about that. And so yeah, Star Trek Beyond is pretty high up there because there's just something about this one that's really, really good, and I really enjoyed it. And actually, something I'd like to say is that this is the first time, this is the first of these three Star Trek movies where it really felt like Star Trek again. Like, a lot of people say, like, the first two movies, they really felt like Star Wars rather than Star Trek. And I never really thought they felt like Star Wars, but they didn't really feel like Star Trek. They were more action-y for Star Trek. This one really feels like a good Star Trek movie, or a really good Star Trek 3-part episode from one of the shows. So that's pretty much my thoughts, I guess. Is there anything else I need to say about this one? I don't think so, actually. I think that's everything. So I think it's a good movie. You should definitely go see it. If you're a fan of the other two movies, go see it. If you're a fan of all of Star Trek, go see Star Trek Beyond. It's a really solid movie, and I'm glad I saw it. So, yeah. So, that's pretty much it. Now, next week I'm not going to have a review up because I always wait a week before seeing a movie, so I have less of a crowd. So 2 weeks from this video going up, I have the Suicide Squad review. Next week, come back and you'll see something a bit different for the channel. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films. Live long and prosper.